When you start doing a lot of aggregates and a lot of group bys, quite frequently what's going to happen is your users, your reports, your applications are going to want the data broken down for better analysis. For example, maybe I want to see the sum total for my product and for subcategory and for category all from one query. That's where our data rollups come into play. Our data rollups allow us to do those types of calculations across multiple groups inside of one query. Now, the first keyword that we have for this is rollup. And what rollup will do is it will provide all the totals by using the order of the group by. So for example, if we provided a group by of category, subcategory, and product, then rollup would give us the breakdown for each category, subcategory, and product. It would give us the total for category and subcategory, and it would give us the total for category. I think the best way to see this is to go look at an example. So let's do exactly that. Stealing a technique from a cooking show where I'm just going to pull the pre-baked cake out of the oven and say, ooh, take a look at this. I want to show a little bit of pre-work that I did behind the scenes just to make this demo a little bit easier for us to work with. Now, what I did was I created a view, and we'll talk about views in a separate module, but what you'll notice about my view is the fact that it really is, at the end of the day, just a select statement. And you'll also notice that we can treat this as a table. Now, I just want you to see behind the scenes how we're querying the AdventureWorks database, that you'll notice that we're grabbing the category, the subcategory, and the product, as well as the total due. So I'm still going to do the aggregate when we get into our query, but I wanted this little bit of work to be done in advance, just so that way the query can be a bit more focused on using things like cube and rollup and groupings and so forth, rather than focusing in on having half of our screen being taken up with the query. So if we take a look at this in action, open up a new query window, you'll notice that if I say select star, and I know that's evil, I'm never supposed to do that, but that's all right. The reason that it's all right in this case is because I created the view. I know the view is giving me just the couple of rows back that I want. And so just to try and keep things a bit simple as we go through the demo, since our main focus is going to be on something other than the columns, we can get away with select star for this little demo. Again, you do want to avoid, or better yet, to simply not use select star whenever you're creating real queries. And I put my from line in here, you'll notice that sure enough, we get the total due, we get the category, we get the subcategory, and we get the product. So now that we've got that broken down for us, let's go ahead and break this down into kind of a normal query. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to say category, I'm going to say subcategory, and I'm going to say product. And then we'll say sum of the total due as total sold. And then let's go ahead and say group by, and then we'll say category, and we'll say subcategory, and we'll say product. There we go. So now you'll notice that we've got the category, we've got the subcategory, we've got the product, we've got the total sold. Now, the last thing that I'm going to do here for right now is, actually, I'm going to do two things. Number one is I'm going to add in a where statement. You'll notice we're getting back 195 rows, which I think is a bit of overkill here for our very simple little demo. So I'm just going to put in a where statement. So I'm going to say where, and let's say category equals, and let's say clothing, because I know that's going to give us back just simply 27 rows. That's going to be a lot easier for us to work with. And then we'll also add in an order by. Now, order by, we're going to talk about later on, but I'm just going to add in an order by, which is just going to choose the sort. So we'll just go ahead and say category, subcategory, and let's say product. There we go. Okay, and that's just going to make things a little bit easier for us to read. There is our results there. So we've got category, subcategory, product, the total sold. You'll notice our where, you'll notice our group by, and the order by is what's new. But again, just for right now, you can just kind of treat that tantamount to magic. Now, the nice part about this query is that this is going to give us a breakdown really for every single product. All right, that's fine. But what happens if from one query I want to get the total for each category, or I want to get the total for each category and subcategory rather than just simply seeing the total for each product? That is where the roll-up statement comes into play. Though what the roll-up statement will do is it will take one pass through my group by and give me the total based on the order that I list off inside of my group by. That what's going to happen is it's going to assume a hierarchy, which is exactly what I've got. That my category is up at the top, and then my subcategory, and then the final child there is going to be my product. So if I say with rollup, and I execute this, what you're going to notice, first of all, is that my query now changes, that I'm now getting back a lot more rows. I'm now getting back 37 as opposed to, I think it was 24 or 27 that we were getting back before. You'll also notice that we're now seeing null inside of there. Well, what null is doing for us is it's actually indicating that we're now going to get aggregated data for all items for each column where the null value exists. Or in other words, when you see, for example, clothing and then bib shorts, and then you'll notice that there's null, what that's doing is that that's showing us the total for every single bib short inside of clothing, regardless of the product type. So if I scroll down just a little bit, and let's find, for example, our gloves, you'll notice for all gloves that are inside of clothing that the total sold is going to be $3,788,320. That's an awful lot of gloves. And then you'll notice that we can get the breakdown for each particular glove type from there. So anytime that you see null, what that's doing is that's telling you that it's giving it to you for every single, in our case, product inside of the glove subcategory. If we scroll back up, you'll also notice that we've got a null on our subcategory. So what that would be telling us is that we've got the total for clothing regardless of the subcategory and regardless of the product. So that's giving us the total for the category. Now you'll also notice up at the very top here that if we see null, 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 what that's doing is that's giving us the grand total. The reason that the grand total and the grand total here both match is because the only category that we've grabbed is clothing. If I commented that out and then re-executed our query, now what you're going to notice, we get a lot more rows there, 232, but now you'll notice that we've got our null, null, null up top. That's going to give us the grand total. And then the one down below that, where we see accessories and then null, null, that's giving us the total for all accessories. And then where you see accessories, bike racks, and then null, that's giving us the grand total for all bike racks. And then we can see the rest of the breakdowns from there. So that's the purpose of the rollup. So the rollup is going to take one pass through everything. Cube, however, is going to give us the total for all combinations of all the columns on group by while still respecting the hierarchy. So it's going to give us the grand total for all category, subcategory, and product, and then it will break it down for each category, subcategory combo. It'll break it down for each category product combo. It'll break it down for each subcategory product combo, and give us the grand total for each category, each subcategory, and for each product. Now the syntax is basically going to be the same. So if I just take this entire query, paste that into a brand new window, and change one word, roll up, to cube, and then re-execute this, now you're going to notice that we're going to get breakdowns for everything. So we do get that same grand total. And then for our AWC logo cap, regardless of the subcategory or category that it happened to be in, you'll notice that we get the total sold there. And if we start scrolling on down here and we get past all of that, then you're going to notice that we're going to get our breakdowns for all bib shorts, our breakdowns for all caps. And then if we keep on scrolling down, you'll see that we continue to get those types of breakdowns. You want to be very careful about using cube because a lot of times this can give us back duplicated data or data that's broken down to levels that we really don't need. You'll also notice very simple little example here where we started with 20-something rows. You'll notice that when I put in cube, I now get back 126. So again, the difference is that rollup will take one pass through the hierarchy. Cube will really try and combine every single possible grouping inside of the hierarchy that it can. What happens if we want a little bit more control?